Hello, everyone. Thank you for checking out this episode of Nerd Caliber. I'm here with Amanda Haas, aka Jedimanda Cosplay, and we're here to talk about her new book, Creative Cosplay. Congratulations on having this printed.
Thank you.
What can you tell us about this book?
This book is very much a sewing companion book. There's a lot of cosplay books out there, especially how-to cosplay books that are very foam heavy, very special effects, makeup, prop heavy. And there wasn't a whole lot of sewing, and that's mainly where my skill set is. And so I wrote the book as a companion for you to understand anything from fabric to patterning to all the way up to just how to start cosplaying. And so I'm very much expressing the book to everybody as a learn how to create your first cosplay, but also deep dive more into fabric and sewing and understanding that, because that is honestly the building block of costumes is fabric manipulation and sewing, in my opinion. So yeah, that's kind of where that's where I'm pretty much telling everybody the book is. So.
Oh, okay. Where did the idea for this come from?
I was actually contacted by this publishing team, CNT Publishing. They are mainly hobby craft books with a heavy emphasis on the quilting. So they do sewing books and they do fashion books, but cosplay is such an up-and-coming community and subject matter all over the place. And so they really wanted to like dip their toes into having books in their repertoire that are cosplay based. And I happened to meet one of the editors that for it at Gen Con in 2018, I think. And they were really interested in how I talked about sewing, and they were like, hey, would you ever want to write a book? And I was like, no, what are you talking about? I can't write a book. I'm not an author. I did horrible in college in English. Like, no, I'm an artist. I lie. That's where my thing lies. And so they were just like, oh, we'll think about it and then, let us know. And I was like, okay. And so I thought more about it, and I was like, I do know a lot about this. Like, putting it into words can't be that hard, right? I mean, it was difficult. I'm not gonna lie. And luckily, I had a very good editing team and people to help me push me along the way. So it was I'm so appreciative for that, to the CNT publishing team on it. But yeah, I got headhunted for it. We'll say that. And then they were just kind of like, you can do it, and I did it, and I did it. So.
Oh, okay. Now, this book is not just about cosplay, or it's also about conventions, about what you should know about going to conventions.
It is.
What kind of information exactly do you mean by that?
It's one of the biggest questions I get constantly. I mean, one of my questions I always get is, how'd you sew that costume, and what's it like for a cosplayer at a convention? And so within the later chapters of the book, I get really detailed into what it's like for a cosplayer to be at a convention. And, I get honest. I'm like, it's hot. You have a lot of people wanting your photograph. Are you comfortable with photography? Are you comfortable with meeting people? And so I really try to be completely honest about what it is to be a cosplayer at a convention, because there's a lot more parameters in it besides just wearing a costume. And so I felt like that was a very important chapter in the book to really talk about, and to get honest with people and being like, yeah, there's a lot more than just strutting around as Princess Leia, trust me.
So who's your intended audience for the book? Is it for people that are new to cosplay?
The publishing team really wanted me to focus on writing this to a person who's never done it before, and I, as in like, made their own costume for a cosplay. And I've done several cosplay 101 type panels at conventions, so I kind of have that down, like I know what to tell you. But I also understand that there's a lot of people out there that are scared of sewing, and they're really confused about fabric types and like what makes fabric, and why should I choose, faux leather over vinyl. And I made that a really big intent in the book, because I want you to be able to go to a hobby craft store or a fabric store and understand why I'm picking linen over cotton for your cosplays. And so that's a huge chunk of the book, as well as giving brand new cosplayers the skill set and the confidence to be able to make their outfits that are more sewing based. There's no foam in this book at all, no foam at all. But for them to get the confidence to be able to go and create something with a pattern and then wear their first costume. So it's definitely geared toward, honestly, everybody. That's why I put it as a companion book. Like, I want you to kind of go back into it and want to learn more about what makes brocade, you know, and how I can style wigs, because I have a little bit of a section on wigs, and how I can do this thing. So I want you to kind of revisit it. So it's not just a one and done only for new cosplayers. It's for everybody.
Oh, okay. Does the book touch also about cosplay culture a little bit here and there?
It does at the beginning, especially because I talk about, you know, what drew me to cosplay and the culture around it, especially social media. I talk about that, and I talk about my aspect of cosplay culture, which is very competition heavy. I like to compete. And so I do go into that later in the book. And then we even get into cosplay photography. So it's kind of I touch all the parameters of cosplay, but definitely, I mean, the meat of the book is learning how to sew, learning what fabric is, learning all how to make your costume. But I also do tell you about the culture and what it's like, because I don't want anybody to go into this blind, and I don't want you to be afraid either. So.
Okay. How long did it take you to write this book? What research, was all the research based on just your personal experience and knowledge, or did you go look at outside sources?
I would say, because I didn't realize what it took to write a book. Honestly, I'm very comfortable just writing how I talk. But I didn't know what it took into forming paragraphs and then forming into breaking this up into chapters. Like, I didn't know a lot of that. So I had a lot of editing help, as in, this is how we're going to break up your table of contents, and then we're going to write it like this. Like, I knew from college how to write essays and papers and that kind of jazz, but to write in a narrative format plus informational reference format was way different than what I was used to. And so a lot of the research was from my head, especially the beginning and end. Which at the beginning, I tell you about myself, and I tell you what cosplay is and what I know about it, especially social media. And the end is very much my knowledge with competitions, with photography, with what a day in the life of a cosplayer is. But the center of the book, the sewing part, definitely had to go back into my old costume design and college textbooks on what makes a sewing machine, how is fabric made, you know, that kind of thing. So there was definitely research, book websites, and even like I was reading like museum stuff, and then just trying to figure out like who invented the sewing machine. Like, I didn't know that off my head, but there was a lot of research to the book, as well as, you know, stuff that I just emptied out of my head. But it was all over the place. It took me probably about a year to write it, and I think to form the book, it's been taking us a year and a half, because there's been a lot of like, it had to pass through editors, and it had to go through designers, and then I had to pick out the look of the book and how I want the graphic design layout to be. So it was a process, but actually way smoother than what I thought it was going to be. I was like, I'm going to have to do everything, but luckily the team at C&T Publishing this is what they do. So they kind of knew what to do. Thank goodness.
I know we talked about how that this book was also made for beginners, especially in your cosplay history. Do you find that a lot of people have come up to you and expressed difficulty in trying to break into the cosplay community, or maybe intimidation?
Oh yeah, we get that a lot, especially when I moderate a panel or I'm on a panel, and people, it's all over the place. It's nervousness from trying to create their own costume, and like, should they create their own costume? Like, I even talk in the book, and I'm like, cosplay is whatever you'd like to bring to the table. It's not, you don't have to make your outfit from scratch. Now that's why I got into it, but that doesn't have to be why you got into it. If you want to just throw together outfits from your closet, you do that. Or if you want to buy your outfit from Spirit Halloween store, like, you go for it. That's cosplay. It's whatever you'd like to do. But I think people, especially because it's so mainstream right now, I think people get really intimidated, because when they search cosplay online, they get really good stuff, and they're like, oh, I can't. I'm just gonna stick to Halloween, you know. But I think this book, I tried to make it as like, really, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Just dive in and go to a convention and have a good time. There shouldn't be pressure. But there's pressure for competition because there's reason for that. But for just your casual cosplay and just go and have fun, there shouldn't be pressure. And I try to point that out a lot, especially at the beginning of the book, to just not be scared. Just do it. Do whatever you want to do.
Is there any special cosplay that you feel the most proud of that you shared in the book?
I have so much of my own stuff in this book, as well as a lot of great photographs of my friends in different costumes that they've made, that they've purchased, they put together. I go into, especially, I document my stuff a lot, and that's just because of my YouTube channel, and that's because of my blog. I really tell you kind of how my process is, but especially like Anastasia, here's a spot when I talk about like prepping patterns. I have a lot of behind the scenes stuff when I'm making my Anastasia gown that I won with the big competition piece. So, and then like Queen Amidala, there's a bunch of behind the scenes stuff on that, especially Doctor Strange. So I do go into that, and even the back has more about Anastasia, but those are probably my main ones, but it's kind of all over the place. It's not like a how to make a Queen Amidala cosplay book, no, but you see a lot of behind the scenes work in there.
When will this be out, and where will it be available?
It will be available, to my knowledge, worldwide in Barnes and Noble. It's right now available for pre-order on Amazon if you would like to have that. It comes out September 25th, and so the pre-order is open right now. If you'd like to go pre-order that, that'd be great. But it will be available through booksellers all over the place, Joann's, Michael's, even, and hobby craft places. You can find any kind of hobby craft book, it will be there. And it's also going to be available as an ebook as well. If you have any questions about getting into cosplay, 100%, that's what this is for. But also, like, if you really want to learn more about fabric and sewing and trying to create your costume from scratch, this is a great book too, because I go into details about like how I choose, zippers over buttons, or anything from why this type of fabric exists over this fabric. So I want people to explore and get experimental with costumes, because I think that's the fun of it. That's like what I really love, is to get in there and like just experiment with whatever I have. And so this book will definitely kind of hold your hand and tell you like, okay, this is what vinyl's made out of, and this is why you should choose a 4-way stretch over a 2-way, because those are some people, you might not think of that, but if you're in the aisles at a fabric store and you have tons of things to choose from, what do you choose? This will help you out to choose what you need.
Excellent. So yeah, where can people find more of your work on social media or any websites?
Yeah. I release cosplay tutorial, cosplay content centered stuff here on YouTube. Jedimanda, youtube.com/Jedimanda, as well as every social media out there. And my website is jedimanda.com. And from there, if you would like, having issues finding a book link or anything for to pre-order my book, there is a link on my website for you to get that.
Excellent. Again, thank you very much for your time, and thank you our viewers out there for watching. And yeah, stay tuned for more cosplay content. Thank you very much.
No problem.